Hello, everybody, and welcome to our episode talking about follow-up. You have myself on this, which is Tracy. I am the sales expert and run Sales Training International. And you have my colleague, Krista. Maybe, Krista, you'd like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Krista Leone and I run Unignorable Brands, which is a marketing agency.
So you have sales and marketing. And we're going to talk about a subject today, which I think, I don't know whether it's the same in marketing, Krista, but I know in sales it is the bane of most salespeople. They hate following up. In fact, a lot of salespeople don't even follow up because they hate it so much. It's the worst part of the job. So, what we're going to talk about today is follow up. And I'm going to talk about it from a sales point of view and some best practices and do's and don'ts of how to follow up. And Krista is going to talk about it from a marketing point of view and best practice and do's and don'ts from marketing. So, do you know what I think we should do, Krista? I think we should start with marketing because marketing comes generally before the sales part. So,
hmm
I think it makes sense that we start with the marketing part of this. And maybe you can start with, I'm going to ask you a question actually before you start giving us actual nuggets of advice. How do you feel most marketing people do in terms of following up?
I think that's all we do. I think that we're permanently on the follow-up. And that's like if you ask me what do marketers do, right? Is we're all about following up and tracking how who reacted, what did they do, then sub-segmenting them. So we'll get into that, but that's basically all I do all day long.
Follow up. Awesome. That's good.
Follow up. Okay.
Do you know what? The reason I asked you that is because I am not a marketeer at all, but I sit at my desk and I get these campaigns come through. We all get them in our inbox. And for me, I always think like, oh my God, like what are they doing? Like they're just not really following up very well, or they're not doing this. And I obviously am talking about the bad examples where you're getting those constant bombardments of emails, like you're getting them every day. Did you get my last email? Pushing this to the top of your inbox. Why are you not responding? Yeah, you're shaking your head. But that's the side of the marketing follow up that I see. And I think, oh my word. So that's why I asked that question. So why don't you take me through your process of if somebody was running their own business or if they're new into a marketing role, how do you follow up on what you're doing, say, for example, for a campaign, etc.?
Okay, so the first part is not to separate the follow-up from the actual process. So what we're looking for in marketing is 7 touch points where a person shows their interest. So from day one, the very first thing we'll do is make sure that we're only operating in a pool of vetted marketing qualified leads. And I say that in air quotes because I've fought with salespeople like what is sales qualified versus what is marketing qualified. So I think that's really important is to start with this mentality that we don't need to follow up. If we're doing everything right, it's just part of the process. So it's not a separate endeavor. So that's number one. And then start with your marketing qualified leads so that you're not just going into a pool of people who haven't demonstrated 2 things. They have to demonstrate demographical fit. So if you tell me we're going after sales leaders in the UK in mid-sized companies and you define that, what is a mid-size for you? So that's demographic fit, but that's not enough. We also need psychographic fit. So I'm going after sales leaders in mid-sized companies in the UK in a certain size range who have interest in a certain thing, like they have a problem that we're hoping that they want to solve, right? And if you start that way, you're already not going to feel like you're being verbally abused, vomited on by getting emails that don't apply to you because you're thinking, okay, at least they know that I'm a sales leader in the UK and they're talking to me and my problems. Um, and then what we're doing is we're doing the touch points. So we start with a pool that we think is good, that we've already vetted for demographic and psychographic fit. Very important. Now, it's easy to find demographic fit, but it's harder to find psychographic fit. So that's something that we work really hard on in marketing. Um, and we are looking for triggers to see how they behave. So if someone opens my email but doesn't click, I put them immediately into a pool of potentials. If someone clicks, I put them into a pool of hot, and I leave them in the hot pool until they stop clicking. Because there have been people who, if you have to find that balance. If you email people too much, then they tune out. So if you're getting, maybe you got me, the first email was great, but then the second email, it was also good, but then the third day I'm kind of like, okay, now I see what you're doing. You're just going to keep going around. So
Mhm.
what I try to do is I try to keep people in the hot pool as long as possible by engaging them. And that's the second trigger. It should never be passive. And I think that's where I'm going to let you talk about sales process, but let me just tell you that follow-ups, it sounds like I'm doing all the work. I'm following up with you. Whether or not you want me to follow up with you is the question. So, my game in marketing is to look for psychological triggers, look for your behavior, what you're doing that signals to me and my team that you might be interested in this offer, and then we send you something to engage you. So that's the key word. It shouldn't be a passive thing. If you're following up, that's why I hate that word, but I thought this would be a great topic for us to talk about. It means that I'm chasing you. It's like a cat and mouse game, and you and I both know, and in sales and marketing, it's going to be the same. The faster you chase somebody, the faster they run away. So instead of us following up with people, we need to reframe it, and we need to look for need to look for behavioral triggers, and then we need to segment people accordingly, and that can change at any time. So one time they're in the hot lead, then they've lost interest, we take them out right away. And we're trying as hard as possible to push for a response. So if emails feel like you're being just verbally vomited on, like I said, we're doing it wrong. What we should be doing is we should be engaging you. And we have to come up with very creative ways to engage you. And I can give you some examples. But I don't want to talk too long, but I'll just tell you one thing that you can do right away is you can say, our company is giving away a free sales audit to see, like, are your sales team getting the right training, right? How do you measure up? And this is 100% free, but we usually charge for it. And so we're going to do a giveaway. If you're interested in getting into the offer, you just have to give us your email here and we'll put you in the pool and we'll call your name. What does that do, Tracy? It immediately segments out the people who actually care about training
Yeah.
versus the people who are like, I don't care if it's free or paid. I don't care about training. My sales team doesn't deserve it. So you see where I'm headed here? Follow up is a lot easier when you're looking for triggers and you're immediately in real time segmenting people into groups. And the people who aren't showing action, we leave them alone. We leave them alone. We put them on a snooze button. We don't remove them completely. We put them on a snooze button and we tentatively try a different hook later on. So we're like,
Right.
maybe it was bad timing. Maybe it was not the right offer for them. We'll try something else in a different campaign.
Mhm.
But the people who are in my hot list, I'm not going to follow up and chase them. I'm going to keep trying to offer them stuff that they will want to book a call. They'll want to respond. They'll want to give me their information. And that's the secret. The secret is it has to be interactive, never passive. If it's passive, you're doing it wrong.
Perfect. Oh, well, there were so many great tips there. I love the fact that you are talking about having to sort of segment them into different categories. Obviously, the stuff I get, they're not segmenting because they're messaging and messaging and messaging. But I like the fact that you're segmenting. Okay, they haven't clicked or responded at all. We'll just keep them for another campaign. These have done a little bit. We might follow up with something different to them. They're hot. We're going to follow up with something different to them. I love the fact that you mentioned giving them something for nothing, because you know how big my love is of lead magnets, and we talked about that on a different show. But lead magnets certainly work in the sales point of view. I'm going to talk about those later, but you're saying you're using them also in marketing, which is great. Have a couple of questions. How often do you follow up, and at what sort of time period? Like every day, every
Yeah. Yeah. So uh One thing I never want to do is give people email fatigue. Our inboxes are all overfilled, and you're right uh, to tell that marketers tend to over email. Okay. In fact, I'm writing an article called "Are You Over Marketing?" And it goes into detail about that's one of our mistakes that we do.
Yeah.
Um, and the more emails, the better is definitely not correct. That's a very bad idea. But in terms of how often, here's how I frame it. It has to be with the end in mind. So that means that we're going towards a grand finale. So when I do a campaign, it's not just like, let me just spam you and spam you and spam you. It has to be like, um, we're going to announce the winner next Saturday. So if you're interested right now, you can win that free audit. We're gonna call out the name and then we'll contact you personally. But we're gonna end it with something so you have a date in mind. Um, or we'll say we're gonna do a 5-day challenge, and it's for sales leaders. And so it will say in the emails day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and then what I'll do is in every email, I'll say tomorrow's the last day or only 2 days left to go, because then you, as the reader, feel like, oh, okay, now I can handle 2 more days. But if you're just getting word vomited on every day and you don't know when this began, when the end, you just know that they're having a monologue on your behalf, it doesn't make sense. So that's my answer to you is it can go for a certain time and it
Okay.
can be every day, but it has to have a very clear beginning and end.
Okay. Yeah, I think, and that makes sense. For each campaign, there's a purpose, there's an end date in sight, and you don't follow up on everybody constantly. You just follow up on those who are showing some online interest by clicking, etc., or opting into something.
I do want to add one more thing that's super
Mhm.
important in emailing is I highly recommend that everyone puts a little opt-out button inside their emails that says if you're not interested in this particular offer, like if it's a 5-day challenge, like if the sales leader challenge does not interest you, click here and we'll immediately remove you from this list.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
And but then I'll say, you're not going to be removed from our whole list just from this campaign because I know we have lots of things to offer you,
Yeah.
but maybe this particular campaign doesn't interest you. And I'll tell you what, this strongly decreases the number of unsubscribes because you feel like you're cornered, you're being chased, harassed. You're like, I'm going to get off this list. And you
Yeah.
might even be angry enough if I've done this too long, then you're going to report me to spam. And you know
Sure.
how that hurts our deliverability score. So I'll do everything to say, hey, I understand that this might not be the right offer for you. Just click here. No hard
Love
feelings.
that. I love that because we
Uh,
all here in
yeah.
the UK legally you have to have an unsubscribed button on the bottom.
We do everywhere in America too,
But
but
but I
it's not
love the
enough.
fact that
It's
you're
black and
offering,
white.
yeah,
It's
I
too
love the
black
fact
and
you're
white, right?
offering that extra
Yeah.
button as well to say if you just don't want to hear about this particular campaign, then yeah. And I've just got a
See.
question here. I'm just going to jump in now when there's a question. Is email still the best way to market? As I'm seeing people using WhatsApp a lot, and that's from John. And I feel the same, but in certain countries. So, like in the Middle East, they're massively using WhatsApp now. Whereas here in the UK, I think it's probably still more email. What's your thoughts on? I know it's not this subject because we're really talking about follow-up, but it's a question, what's a good way to do a campaign?
Okay. So I personally try very hard to teach my clients, I will build your list for you.
Hmm.
I will build you a nice, clean product market fit list. I'm going to underline that, okay? Because 9 out of 10 times my clients have bought a list or pretty much just imported a bunch of people. They're like, oh, I'm like, where did these leads come from? I don't want to know. Like, monkey didn't see, monkey didn't know, hear nothing. So it's really bad. So, first of all, you should make sure you're getting people who willingly opted in. And you and I talked about this via lead magnets. So they should be doing a lead magnet and they willingly opted in. And I
Yeah.
have so many creative ideas for lead magnets, events, challenges, giveaways. downloadables, templates. Like we can go on all day.
Listen to our episode. Once it goes live, listen to our episode on lead magnets to find out about what to do on that. Yeah.
Okay, so but my point is I think it's all about permission. Did they give you permission to message them on WhatsApp? If they didn't, you're a spammer. Did they give
Mhm.
you permission to email them? If not, you're a spammer. And I know that's going to be controversial because that kind of goes against the whole point of cold outreach, but I
Mm.
don't think we need cold outreach. I honestly think that you and I are interestingly enough on the same page about this, that we can willingly find the right people who actually want to buy the product instead of harassing these poor people over here who are in the middle of their workday and suddenly start getting ding,
Yeah.
ding, ding, my WhatsApp is going off. But with that said, just like you mentioned, it is cultural. So what we learn as marketers is how do you prefer to be your communication preferences? And that's one thing I teach. I create a welcome sequence for you when I do your email list that has the very second day I send out an email that says, so the first email is, hey, what are you doing here and why should you stay? Right? So
Mhm.
I want to convince you, and I make it very prominent. If this is not what you expected or you don't want this, please opt out right now. So the
Mhm.
very first email, I'm like, here's what we're going to give you. We send out a newsletter once a week. We publish our YouTube video every Thursday. You'll get notified. If this isn't what you want, opt out here. But then I strongly encourage them to give me their communication preferences, and they can check in and out what they want. So they can say, look, I don't want to get your YouTube videos, so let me uncheck that. I would be okay with getting once a month your monthly newsletter. I'll leave that. And then I ask them, which means can we reach you by? And then I'll say, would you like an SMS? Some people like SMS. Would you like email? Would you like, another way? And that's where we can add WhatsApp. And WhatsApp, by the way, has some amazing tools for marketers to be able to reach people and track and analytics tools. So, heck, if your audience checks, I love WhatsApp, they've given you permission, please, by all means, do it. Just be wary because when somebody here in the audience asked about legal requirements, yes, you must have an unsubscribe, but SMS marketing, including WhatsApp, is even stricter. So you
Mhm.
have to put like respond, stop if you want to immediately be opted out.
Right.
So, and they will block you for multiple years if you disregard this. So it's like you can get in these blacklists very, very quickly by doing WhatsApp. Whereas
Yeah.
email, you can, but you can get away with a lot of bad stuff still.
Sure.
So
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. And I think the overriding learning point for me with listening to you on that is the follow-up isn't just the follow-up, it's about the setup. The setup has to be right. Get it right at the start. And then the follow-up is staged with an end in mind. It's very bespoke. It's very personal to the communication preferences. It's also personal to how interested they are, etc. So the follow-up, you're quite right, should be easy if you set it up right in the first place.
it
Perfect.
should be a conversation. So I
Yeah.
think the secret is it shouldn't be one way. So never should you send out 3 emails without getting a response.
Mhm.
You want to provoke people. So like I said, I put really tall, like if you don't want to get this offer, opt out right now. Here it
Yeah.
is. Here's the button on every single email. And I'll even ask people like, there's another thing you can do now is if you want to get fancy, you can actually insert in your emails star ratings or thumbs up, thumbs down ratings. And you can say, so does this offer appeal to you? Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. If you don't like this offer, give me like a unhappy smiley face or a thumbs down. That's a fun way to gamify the process so that it's a very low commitment to
Yeah.
communication means versus telling people you have to respond to this email. No, I don't have time to respond to this email, but if you give me just click the thumbs down button, then I'll know and I'll automatically have a trigger because I'm all about triggers if you know me that will remove you from the sequence and I'll put you into the bucket so I know why I removed you. And this keeps the email list from getting too many spam complaints and reports. as well as opt-outs, just not because you don't like my offers or my services, but because I've been doing a bad job of engaging you. That's sad to lose subscriber just because I've emailed you too much.
Wow, I love that idea. And another thing this has taught me, I think most people, if they don't have a really good marketing department, probably need to hire somebody to do them email marketing or WhatsApp marketing for them.
Come
Because
on down. Come
for
on down.
me,
I love this
because
stuff.
for me, everything you're saying is exciting, but it's not my forte. It's not something I have time for. And I think what has been very clear to me in this chat is it's got to be done right. It's got to be done right.
Oh, we have these
Otherwise, you're wasting your
automation
time.
sequences with like,
Yeah,
maybe 14 different triggers.
yeah.
And then I can go in every day and I can say, okay, this, and so it's a way of communicating with your audience that makes it a one-click communication. So they don't, I'm trying to ask them questions and I'm looking for clicks. And that's another thing about follow-ups is you need to focus on clicks. Uh,
Yes.
if, like I said, if it's just one way, then you're not following up, you're spamming.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much, Krista. Now, we've talked about marketing. Should we talk about sales?
Tell me how it works with sales. You guys have more savvy negotiation tools, right?
Well, I think it's similar to what you've said, but obviously not as complicated because we're not doing it on an online system and looking, but it's very similar. As you were talking, I was thinking, gosh, this is so similar. I actually made some notes of things I wanted to get across on here. And the first thing I put is good practice equals easy follow-up. And that was my first thing on my notes. If you're doing it right in the first place, the follow-up is simple. And by good practice, I mean, if you're having a good meeting with the client, so you're asking the right questions during the meeting, you're finding out the right information so that then you can go on to stage two and send them a very good proposal. And when I say a very good proposal, I mean short, to the point, clear, just about what they're interested in, and maybe add a video to that proposal in case they need to share it round other people within the organization. That's something I find helps. So if you're doing a really good meeting with a client, getting all the right information, then following up with a superb proposal and thinking to yourself, okay, nowadays it's often not one person who makes a decision, it's often 4 or 5 people within an organization. They weren't in my meeting. How can I make it so that this person who was in my meeting can share this easily? So quite often, apart from doing a good document, a short document, I might do a short video so that they can send that round with it. I find that if I am doing that bit right, the follow up, oh my God, it's like a million times easier. So much easier. So I think that's the first point to make. It's exactly what you were saying. If we're doing the first bit right, the follow up should be easy. So there's a lot of bad advice out there about follow up. I see people say follow up until it's dead. I followed up 10 times and I got a sale on my 10th follow up. Okay, listen to me. If you're following up 20 people and you follow them all 10 times, you might get one sale on the 10th time. And you might do a post on LinkedIn to say, I followed up 10 times and I got a sale at the end of that. So you should always follow up till dead. You might find one person who does say yes after 10 times, but those other 19 are going to be like, this person is crazy. I never want to hear from them again, ever. So for me, follow up has to be proportionate and not overkill. So whenever we're doing a sales training course, we do not give the advice follow up till dead, follow up till you get a no. That is very 1980s sales advice. We do not do that. That's point number one. I have a process. Now, I'm not saying that my process is 100% right. I'm just going to tell you what I do, and it works really well for me. I have a 3-stage follow-up process. That's all I do, 3 follow-ups. So I've sent the proposal, I've had a meeting, I've sent the proposal. I'm going to wait a little while. I'm going to give them some time to read it and to share it. Now, ideally, I will have asked them, I'm going to send you a proposal. How long do you need before I follow up with you to find out? Are you going to share it with other people? Do you want a video to go with it? So I'll probably have a note in my CRM. This person wanted me to follow up after a week. This person said follow up after 2 weeks because it was going to take them that amount of time because someone was on holiday. So my first follow-up, I tend to always do on email. Now that might not be popular, but I always do it on email. I always send them a very short email to say, as agreed, I'm following up after a week. How did it go in terms of reading through it yourself? Do you have any questions? Did you pass it on to the other people you set? I do my email follow-up. I find it less intrusive doing an email as my first one. And I've tested this hundreds of ways. So I've tested it hundreds and hundreds of ways, and this is just what works for me. Now, quite often, 7 times out of 10, you're going to get you're going to get a response to that email. But what if you don't? What if they just don't reply? My second follow-up, I normally give them about a week, I'd say. Because you never know, they could be on holiday, they could be busy, they could be in the middle of a big thing at work, you don't know. My second follow-up, I ring them. I pick up the phone and I ring them. Now, I know that's not a popular thing to do these days, to pick up the phone, but that's why it works. People don't get many phone calls anymore. So I pick up the phone. Now, if I can't get hold of them on the phone, another option could be I could leave them a voice note if I wanted to on the phone. But an even better way, I think, if I can't catch them on the phone, I will probably go onto LinkedIn and send them a voice note on LinkedIn. It's a bit more unusual than getting a voice note on your phone. So my second follow-up is that personal touch. They're hearing my voice. What if they don't reply to that? Now, I've done 2 already. And at this point, I'm thinking, I don't want to be overkill on this here. So then I send my breakup email, which sounds dramatic, but it works. I send them a breakup email. My breakup email is very nice. It basically says, I've followed up twice. I don't want to be one of these stalker type people who are constantly following up. And if you've gone elsewhere, awesome. I hope it works out. If it doesn't, you know where I am. If you're still thinking about it, when you're ready, let me know. If you've decided to bin this off, no hard feelings. I'm here if you ever need me, type of thing. It's very nice. It's very kind. That breakup email gets a 90% response, because they normally come back and say, oh, no, I still want it, but, or, oh yeah, I'm really sorry, we lost our budget and I didn't tell you, but thanks anyway. So that's my 3-stage process. Now I do something else. In this 3-stage process, I do what you were saying. So this is where it links onto marketing. I give lead magnets at each stage. So when I do my first follow-up, that first email, I might put something quite low value on there, but interesting, to say, oh, I came across this article that you might like, or I forgot to add this to the proposal, but I think it might be useful to you. Or I thought afterwards, maybe this is something that you might like. So I do that on my email. Obviously, I don't do it in the follow-up in terms of my voice note, but on my breakup email, I go big. I go big on my breakup email. I give them something really high value. I'm going to say, there's no hard feelings. And to prove there's no hard feelings, I'm going to give you this. Because whatever your decision, whether you've lost your budget, you've gone elsewhere, things have changed, I think this is going to be helpful to you. And that's how I follow up. It is simple. It is non-intrusive, I don't find. I've probably follow up over like a month. Those 3 touch points are probably over a month. I keep them on the database so that they still get my newsletters, they still get everything else. I keep them on my LinkedIn radar as well, because obviously sales is very different to marketing. We've had a meeting, we've had a chat. So I keep them on my LinkedIn radar. I might comment on the odd post, just so they know who I am. If anything else pops up, I might just send it to them. And I feel like that's enough. I don't know what you
I
think.
love that. I love that because you're doing 3 touch points, and 3 is a great number, right? And I also, okay, go charge it in there. I'm sorry, my daughter's got off of school today. I think also though, one thing that both of us are trying to do just from different perspectives is to build rapport.
Mhm.
So that's really important by giving value. So some of the things you've said is like you've had a meeting with them, so you know more about them. Then you're giving them those lead magnets. So they're feeling like, okay, we have a personal connection.
Mhm.
You're also doing the uh, giving them the value pieces, and you're being very clear that I'm not going to be harassing you. And that's kind of like what I was talking about, a beginning and an end. So it's
Mhm.
really important not to make a person feel like this, they're going to follow up with me forever and ever.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I think it's also good if if we can combine the two, meaning like for example, um, there's lots of software now, technology that can help with these things. Like for when you do send the follow-up email, the very first one, you can have a mail tracker, and so you can always be seeing did they open the email or they didn't? Because remember what I talked about triggers? Well,
Yeah.
that's one of my triggers. Like I'm not going to answer the same way if I know they're ignoring me than if I know they didn't open the email. And there's a lot of free mail trackers, so you don't have to have a fancy sales software. In fact, even my son right now, who's applying for jobs, he graduated from uni this year, and I got him a free mail tracker. And I'm like, you need to know who has read the email and who hasn't.
Mhm.
So I'm teaching him some marketing tricks where I tell him, okay, once a week you go in and you sort out all the unread emails from your mail tracker
Yeah.
and you resend them. And I said, you're not going to resend them 4 or 5 times, but if they haven't read them or opened them, there's a good chance nowadays that the email didn't go into their inbox for whatever reason. Um, One of the things I fight with daily because I'm working with a lot of corporate companies is how to get the emails into the inbox. Because these corporate companies, they have really good firewalls and very sensitive security triggers, and that's one of the real reasons why I agree with Craig here, who says, can this damage your reputation? Well, not only harassment and spamming people will damage your company reputation and your personal reputation, but if they report, if a couple of things happen, if you keep emailing and they don't open them repeatedly, this will signify that you are a spammer, and then your whole deliverability will suffer. If they report you, even worse, and it's kind of like a DUI, drunk driver, it stays on your record for a very long time. So I've had customers who said, look, marketing is too slow for me. I don't have a year to nurture people and put out all this wonderful social media content. I want hard, cold cash like every month. I need like cold calling, cold emailing. Like that's what I'm looking for. And what I tell them is, well, then you might have a cold, hard stop in your business because very quickly you're going to get on all the blacklists. And
Mm.
I can run right now I even stopped working with a client who you know about.
Yeah.
hmm I won't name names, but this person was kind of convinced by their new hire, their new COO, to kind of go that route.
Yeah.
It's like we can get you sales quicker if we do a lot of cold spamming, we'll follow up and do all that. And now they're on every blacklist. None of their emails go into the inbox. They can't even send a personal email from to another client because it goes always into spam. They've lost all their ability to email. Um,
I love the idea of getting a free email tracker because when I send a proposal, I put smart links into my proposal so I can see if they've opened the proposal and I can see if they've spent a lot of time. It generally is on the cost page of the proposal. Let's be honest with you, that's the page most people stay on longest. But I don't track the emails, which is quite an interesting one. So, do you, whilst we're on here, could you recommend a good free email tracker? Maybe the one that you told your son about that people could try?
yeah, yeah. So the one that works really well is a Chrome extension. It's called Mail Track.
Mail track.
And I can put that in the follow-up in the notes, but
Um,
if you look up free email tracker, you'll find a lot, and it will tell you what it works on, what it doesn't work on. So it depends if you're on Microsoft, Gmail, whatever, the compatibility. But I find that super basic because
yeah.
before I start harassing you or jumping to conclusions, they're ghosting me.
Mhm.
Why don't we just basically look
If
back?
they've opened the email.
Did they
Yeah.
even get the email? And the funniest thing is A lot of times we jump to that conclusion that they're ghosting us. And if we do call them, they'll be like, hey, thank you so much. I've been super busy, or summer was kind of hard. I got lost. I need to catch up on my emails. It must have gone somewhere buried into my email inbox
Yeah.
somewhere. So yeah, Craig says that too. They're too impatient. They hire marketing companies to spam. And then they're blacklisted. And not only that, it ruins your reputation because these companies aren't doing market product fit. They're not doing enough due diligence to make sure they're targeting the right people. So then I'm getting, like, I'm an entrepreneur, I have a marketing agency. I'm getting cold outreach for people saying, well, it looks like you're on the job market. And so did you know I can give you, like, our company can get you this and that? Like, where did they find these things? They're just so wrong.
Well, they don't. They're just literally, they're just like literally chucking enough at the wall that they're hoping enough will stick. Which,
Spaghetti marketing. So the follow-up, I think, another thing that, some tips I have is, besides getting an email tracker, which it can be as easy as a free tool to check if they've read it, and then doing a resend once a week, go through and just sort out the ones where they've in your from your sent folder. It will put a little sticker next to them, and then you can just resend those. So I'll do that at least once.
yeah.
And the other thing is, I think we have to catch people in an emotional way. I think marketing is a lot about emotion, and probably sales is too, with persuasion and, confidence. And I think that in the follow-ups, no matter if it's a email or a call, I think that we need to make sure that we are recapping what we've understood from them.
Mhm.
Like, one thing you said, remember a beginning and an end? I
Yeah.
think that's the two real big secrets to follow up are: make sure there's a beginning and an end to what you're going to do with this lead.
Yeah.
And number two, make sure that they feel like it's a conversation, a two-way conversation. And so if you recap what you've heard from them during the meeting, or what you know about them, that already sets the tone for a much higher response rate than if you're just copying and pasting some AI generated emails templates. So, I'm like, I'll even use their own words. I'll be like,
Oh,
I saw
which,
you on
which is a sales technique to repeat back what they've said.
super important, super important. And then also what you said about timing, beginning and end. I think that if you're just chasing a person and you have no idea when they're going to make a decision, so what you do is really smart. And I think on the marketing side, we try to do a similar thing where we're like, we're going to be running this campaign. We've got a countdown timer. It's almost over. We're going to do the big giveaway announcement, or we're trying to fill a webinar and we've got an actual date for the webinar, or we're launching a course, or we're trying to always make it interesting, but with a very strong time frame. When you're doing personal sales for a larger organization and they've asked for a proposal, I think for me, I've always tried to set up that when I'm on the first call, I try to already book the second call. So I'm like, so when do you think this decision will be made? Is this a 2 week process, a 1 week process? Are you in a hurry? Or
Yeah.
is this maybe a longer time frame? And then it gives them the opportunity to always reschedule if there's been a delay. Um, that's one thing. And then also giving them options that they don't have to go into a lengthy explanation. If they turn you down, I would just ask them, so, you know, is this decision on hold right now? Have you gone in a different direction? Or do you just need more time?
Yeah.
And if you say just, and what I do is I make an email and I'll make the links clickable. And this could be a personal email to you, but you only have to click and you don't have to respond to me. You don't have to give me your whole drama explanation. Um, I think that sometimes if you just say, just answer yes or no, click here in the email, and then that will trigger you to get out of the sequence and we stop bothering you. We put you on snooze mode. We move, that's another trick that I've used a lot in my emails.
I think that works really well on marketing. I think when you've had quite a big sales conversation, that's probably a little bit dismissive after you've already spent hours with them and done a big proposal. But I like what you said about making it personal. And I think that when I'm doing the sales follow-up, that second follow up, whether it's actually they answer the phone or I'm leaving a WhatsApp voice note or I'm leaving a LinkedIn voice note, that's when I sort of say, can I just check I got this right? And I think the fact that they hear your voice, it kind of makes it more of a need to reply to you. It's a conversation. It's just not another email in your inbox. And I think on that breakup email, it's a little bit similar to what you said in that, if you've decided to go elsewhere, no hard feelings. I'm going to give you something free anyway. Let me know how it goes. If it doesn't work out, I'm still here. If you need more time, just reply and let me know, and I'll just put you in my diary for when you say you want. If it's a no, I'd love some feedback if you don't mind giving me the feedback as to why. Again, no hard feelings. Here's some free information that I think you might be interested in. I think they're both similar. I think what I've gained from this conversation is the setup is important. If you're doing things right at the start, then that makes the follow-up a million times easier. I also think having a process. So obviously in marketing, you may have slightly more touch points than you do after a sales call, but having an end in sight. And I think my third big takeaway is using lead magnets in the follow-up, having something of value and having something maybe of increasing value so that, when you're following up, you're not just harassing you, or they don't feel like they're being harassed, they're actually getting some value from your follow-up as well. I think they're my three biggest takeaways from this conversation. Get the start right, get the sequence right, and the end in sight, and have some value in your follow-up. And it's that simple. And
You covered it, and don't be dismissive. I think that salespeople and sometimes marketing people have been taught wrongly to be a little bit aggressive with people. And I've received emails like, "This is it. This is the last time I'm making you this amazing offer, and you're such a loser. If you want to stay a loser and lose $1 million, then that's up to you. I'll never email you again." And then 2 weeks later, I get put back in their sequence and I'm getting their emails again. So I'm like, come on, guys. Like, so being dismissive of people, or like, it looks like you're not up to
rude,
my
or rude.
level to pay for
Yeah,
my
rude.
service. Like, I'm so, you're too poor to pay, or you're too cheap to. I've had messages like that. And I'm
Mm.
like, and you think that that's ever going to land you a client? Is that ever a good idea? Never, ever, ever. And if I ever found out, this is one of the biggest problems with marketing and sales, Tracy. We are working on behalf of others. So it's not my personal brand reputation in this case. I'm actually in charge of protecting my client's brand reputation. So imagine if you find out that your marketing and sales team are harassing people, are misrepresenting, or maybe threatening, or being aggressive, or being dismissive, and you have zero idea. You just think, they're doing a good job, they're working hard, and then you find out, wow, your sales team has been browbeating us, or your marketing people are spamming us. So I think we have to remind ourselves in the follow-up as professionals too, treat others how you want to be treated. Do you want to get those kind of aggressive salespeople? Do you want to get those kind of spammy marketers? No. So let's not do that for ourselves or for our clients. That's
I
the
actually
bottom
have
line.
one more thing. I actually have one more thing written on my notes that I haven't
Oh,
said, but it fits in exactly to what you've just said. Follow up with kindness is what I have put on here. Follow up with kindness. It's not personal. If they've gone somewhere else, if your prices are too high, if their boss won't make a decision, if their budget's been cut, it's got nothing to do with you. It's not personal. So just follow up with kindness. Wish them well, give them something nice that might add value. And keep in touch. Different on but certainly on the sales one, if everybody who you have a meeting with, every single person who you're following up with, you should be connected to on LinkedIn. And if you're not, well, therefore you're missing a massive point, because if you're not following up with the people, if you're not connected to the people who you're following up with on LinkedIn, how do you get back in touch with them in the future? It's a process. It's a different process to marketing, because obviously you're not going to be connected to every single person who you send a marketing email out to. But it's those touch points. It's another touch point for you to have another conversation with at a later stage.